The ocean waves crashed gently against the shore, their rhythmic hum blending with the distant laughter of children playing in the sand. The golden sun cast a warm glow over the beach, painting the sky with streaks of orange and pink as it slowly began its descent. Seagulls soared overhead, their calls echoing in the breeze, while couples strolled hand in hand, soaking in the perfect summer evening. But amid the tranquility, an argument was brewing. A storm was about to break in the middle of paradise. Before we dive deeper into this gripping and emotional story, let us know where you're watching from today, and if tales of courage, action, and standing up for what's right inspire you, don't forget to subscribe to Story Dash. Soon we'll share another story that will leave you speechless. Near the wooden pier, a young woman in her early 20s stood with her arms wrapped around herself, her face turned slightly away as she tried to hold back tears. Her long blonde hair blew in the wind, partially obscuring her distressed expression. In front of her, a man, tall, broad-shouldered, and visibly agitated, glared at her, his fists clenched at his sides. His voice was sharp, cutting through the peaceful hum of the beach like a blade. "Stop ignoring me, Emily," he barked, stepping closer. "You don't get to just walk away from me." Emily flinched but remained silent, her feet sinking slightly into the damp sand as she backed away. "I said talk to me," the man growled, grabbing her wrist with a force that made her gasp. A few people nearby turned their heads, but most quickly looked away, hesitant to get involved. It was the kind of moment where people told themselves it wasn't their business, until it was too late. What neither Emily nor her aggressor knew was that they were not alone. Just a few feet away, standing near a cluster of beach chairs, Leonardo DiCaprio had been watching the scene unfold. He had been enjoying the peaceful sunset, a pair of sunglasses resting on his face, when the rising tension caught his attention. He wasn't the kind of man to stand idly by. Leo took off his sunglasses and walked toward them, his steps firm but measured. His presence alone was enough to make the nearby beachgoers shift uneasily, sensing that something was about to happen. "Is there a problem here?" Leo's voice was calm, but there was an undeniable authority in his tone. The man turned sharply, his grip still firm on Emily's wrist. His eyes darted to Leo, narrowing as he processed the interruption. "This is none of your business," he snapped. "Stay out of it." Leo's gaze flickered to Emily's wrist, where the man's fingers were digging into her skin. His expression darkened slightly, though he remained composed. "It became my business the second you put your hands on her," he said smoothly. "Let go." The man scoffed. "Oh, so you think you can just walk up here and tell me what to do? Who even are you?" Leo's lips twitched into a slight smirk, but his eyes stayed deadly serious. "Doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that she doesn't look like she wants to be here." Emily's eyes met Leo's for the first time, and in them, he saw something he had seen in too many people before: fear. But also something else: a flicker of hope. The man, emboldened by the fact that he was taller and built like someone who spent too much time in the gym, let go of Emily's wrist and took a step toward Leo. "You think you're some kind of hero?" he sneered. "You have no idea what you're getting yourself into." Leo was astonished. "Sorry, what did you say?" The man repeated, "I said, do you think you're some kind of hero?" Leo didn't move an inch. If anything, he seemed amused. But beneath that amusement was steel. "And you have no idea who you're messing with," he replied. The tension between them was thick enough to cut with a knife. The beachgoers who had been hesitant to intervene were now openly watching, their phones slowly being raised as they began recording. Then, in a split second, the man lunged. His fist shot forward in a wild punch aimed directly at Leo's face. But Leo was faster. With a swift and practiced movement, he sidestepped effortlessly, grabbing the man's wrist mid-air and twisting it just enough to stop him in his tracks. The aggressor let out a sharp gasp of pain, his knees buckling slightly as Leo applied just enough pressure to make a point. "Bad move," Leo muttered. The man struggled, but Leo held firm. He didn't need to use excessive force, just enough to let him know that this was over. "Here's what's going to happen," Leo continued, his voice still calm. "You're going to walk away. You're not going to bother her again. And if I ever hear about you pulling this stunt with anyone else—" He tightened his grip just slightly, making the man flinch. "Then you and I are going to have a much bigger problem." The man's arrogance crumbled in an instant. He jerked his arm away as soon as Leo released him, stumbling backward. His eyes flickered between Leo and the growing crowd of onlookers, realization dawning on his face that this wasn't going to end the way he thought. "You're crazy," he spat, before turning and storming off down the beach. Just as Leo turned to leave, the man suddenly spun back, rage flickering in his eyes. With a desperate growl, he lunged once more, this time reaching for Leo's collar. But Leo was ready. With lightning-fast reflexes, he sidestepped again, using the man's own momentum to send him stumbling forward onto the sand. The crowd gasped as he landed face first, groaning in frustration. Leo stood over him, shaking his head. "Told you to walk away. Guess you needed a reminder." A wave of quiet applause rippled through the crowd. Leo turned to Emily, his expression softening. "Are you okay?" She nodded shakily, rubbing her wrist. I didn't know what to do." "You don't have to," Leo assured her. "You just have to be safe." The beach staff, who had arrived a little too late, quickly moved in to check on her. Leo gave them a nod before stepping back, putting his sunglasses back on as if nothing had happened. As he walked away, Emily called after him. "Wait," she said. "Thank you, really." Leo paused, glancing back over his shoulder. "No need to thank me," he said with a small smile. "Just promise me you won't let anyone treat you like that again." Emily swallowed, then nodded. Leo was about to leave when a little girl, no older than 6, tugged at his sleeve. She had big brown eyes and a curious expression. "Are you a superhero?" she asked innocently. Leo knelt slightly, his grin widening. "Nah," he said playfully. "Just a guy who doesn't like bullies." The girl giggled, and her mother, standing nearby, mouthed a silent "thank you" before leading her away. As Leo walked down the shoreline, the golden light of the sunset reflecting off the waves, he took a deep breath. He had spent years playing heroes on the big screen, but in moments like these, when real people needed help, he knew that being a hero wasn't about capes or movie roles. It was about doing the right thing, even when no one was watching. And so, as Leonardo DiCaprio disappeared into the horizon, he left behind more than just a moment of action. He left behind a lesson in courage, kindness, and standing up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. What would you have done if you had been on that beach? Let us know in the comments below. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Story Dash for more powerful and unforgettable stories like this one. Because sometimes, the smallest act of courage can change everything.